Hi, it's me JD and welcome back to my channel. This video is all about handmade cards for the Lunar New Year. Normally it's all about the red envelope that you send, but that doesn't mean you can't make a card to go along with it. To really pay homage to the red envelope, I'm going to be doing some gold embossing for this first card. I've laid out my stamps in my stamp positioner. Now I'm just going to ink up the top stamp in some Versamark ink. I'm going to be doing different colors of heat embossing. Well, at first I'm going to be doing some different colors. You'll see what happens. And so I stamped my image in Versamark ink, and then I'm going to pour some clear embossing powder over it. So clear embossing powder, you can, it traps the color underneath. So you see the red cardstock once this powder melts under the heat tool. It just becomes like a darker version of whatever cardstock you're using when you're using clear embossing powder. Next, I'm going to use my anti-static powder tool again to ink up my bottom images, my little piggies, and my sub-sentiment. Once I've got those images stamped, I'm going to be pouring some glitter gold embossing powder over those images. I just use some painter's tape to help line up my images on a straight line. And then I'll dust off any excess. And with glitter embossing powder, you want to heat up the back first so it traps all the glitter, as you can see I'm doing here. That way all of your glitter bits don't go flying everywhere. I find that this tip definitely helps minimize all of the mess. So then I'll just bring my heat tool to the front of the card to make sure that the powder is all nice and melted, as well as help even out the cardstock. Next, to help the Happy New Year sentiment stand out a little more, I'm going to be using my sponge dauber as well as some gold metallic ink to sponge over it. So this is why I thought clear embossing powder would work, just to help it stand out from the rest of the glitter gold embossing. But what ended up happening was that it didn't look as special as I thought it would. So as I'm sponging, I'm like, yeah, we're gonna need to do this again. But rather than start all over, I'm just going to stamp and emboss over this image. But first, before putting away that really pretty metallic ink, I'm going to sponge the bottom so it looks like my little piggies are standing on a platform of gold. And the sponge wasn't working quickly enough for me, so I just decided to take ink to paper and just smoosh it on there to help speed things up. And the effect is still really cool no matter which way you do it. And now for the peel reveal. Man, that is oddly satisfying. Alright, time to fix this main sentiment. First, I gotta make sure that all of this pigment ink that I sponged on there is bone dry, and to test that, I'll pour some powder over it, just to make sure nothing sticks, and therefore it won't stick when I stamp my new sentiment on top of that. So I'll just add this right back into my stamp positioner. Thankfully, I did not remove any of the stamps, and so it should stamp in the exact same spot if I line it up correctly. It's the same process as before. I'm going to ink up my stamp with some Versamark ink, swing the door over, press down to make sure I got nice even coverage, pour some powder over top, and then heat the sentiments from the back to make sure the glitter doesn't escape, and then heat it to the front because my cheapy cardstock is warping. To add some bling to this card, I'm going to be adding some flicks of gold watercolor. I love gold. Quick, what movie is that from? Bonus points to you if you leave the answer down in the comments. I'm using a paintbrush and an acrylic block to flick some paint on there. This is my preferred method of adding some paint splashes to cardstock, just because it helps me give a little bit of control to where the splashes go. Not all the time, but the majority of the time it does work out pretty nicely. Now I'm going to add the final shade of gold until this happens. Let's rewind that, shall we? All's going well, and then fail. Fail. Instant replay, please. Fail. Is this an omen for 2019 as to how my crafty year is going to go for 2019? Seriously? Anyway, I'm not going to let that deter me, so I just go on using the nub. One of these days, I'm going to have a video where I do not mess up or have any type of mistake. That video is not today, but one day. I'm going to finish out this cursed card by adding it to some gold foil cardstock, just to add some added bling to take away from my little mistake there. Oh, I see it. The smudge is looking at me. Let's hope the rest of the cards go a little better. This next card has a fun interactive element of a flip slider. I'm going to start by using some watercolor cardstock as well as the flip slider die, and then I'll cut out my sliding piece that flips, hence the name flip slider, as well as the, like, I don't know what you call these, frames for the flip slider. And I already went and stamped, cut, and colored all of my little images from my stamp set. This way it saves time and you don't have to see how badly I color outside of the lines. Once I've got my little frame people set, I guess that's what you call them, I'm going to start by putting this mechanism together by accordion folding along those scored or dotted lines, or perforated lines they are. And then I'll fold this back piece to the back, and then fold those little tabs over. And then I will attach my little frames or backgrounds to each section of the flip slider mechanism, starting with the back section, and then I add some score tape to each of the little strips, the little rectangles, along with the left side of each of the little frames, and that's how this flip slider mechanism works. If that sounds confusing, it's probably because I made it sound way more confusing than it needed to be. Just do as you see, not as I say. I promise this flip slider is really easy to assemble, I just made it sound difficult. Anyway, so once I assemble my piece, I didn't like how the back of the watercolor cardstock was white, so I'm just going to use a Copic marker to color it in to match my, my card front. As I'm putting together the pieces to build my scene, I just want to touch on why Lunar New Year is important to me. I am Asian American, and so this holiday is a big holiday, huge. I've been receiving little envelopes of money ever since I was little, and I've loved it every time. Well, most of the time. Now that I'm older, I'm the one that's giving out envelopes of money, which, I mean, let's be honest, it's not that fun, or not as fun as receiving them, but it's still a great tradition to pass down to the younger generations of just well wishes for the upcoming new year, for prosperity and luck and health. And so I'm making cards for the occasion to send out to my other adults that aren't receiving envelopes of money anymore, just as a way to say, Happy New Year, wishing you luck, that kind of thing. And so as you saw when I was rambling on, I flicked some gold watercolor paint on my background just to add some fun and some whimsy to my card front. And now I'll start assembling the pieces of my card with some strong score tape. As you see, I only attach score tape to the little tabs of the flip slider. If you have this die, that's how this piece works. You can only put tape on those two little tabs, otherwise the mechanism won't work. And you have to use really strong score tape as opposed to liquid adhesive or something. And once I've got that stuck on there, I'm gonna use my white gel pen just to draw a little arrow so the recipient will know what to do when they receive this card. I'll add liquid adhesive to the rest of my die cut pieces though. While that is drying, I'm going to stamp and cut out my sentiment strip. I'll make sure my flip slider works, which it does, and this card is finished. This next card features some hanging lanterns. First, I'm going to take my white cardstock and cut a circle off of the corner of my card front to make room for this little pig. It's the year of the pig for 2019, and so I'll take this and just offset it a little bit and run it through my die cutting machine. Because once that piece is done, I'm going to back this piece up with a red cardstock just to make it stand out a little more. Next, I'm going to take out all of my acrylic blocks and begin stamping some lanterns and firecrackers. Lanterns and firecrackers are a big part of the decorations and celebration for Lunar New Year. If you were to compare New Year's to Christmas, like lanterns and firecrackers would be the ornaments and Christmas music of this holiday. And so I'm stamping all of my little decorations in kind of this pattern. I wanted it to look like these lanterns were suspended from a string across the card front. I'm using different shades of red and gold and yellows to color in all of my stamped images. Red is considered a very lucky color in my culture. Looking back, I probably should have painted my nails red too to film this video, but I was watching Frozen. I was inspired by Elsa. What are you gonna do? It'll be red for New Year's though. Alright, now I'm taking my micron pens, the same pens I use for my bullet journal, to draw the string that suspends all of these lanterns and firecrackers. I'm really not concerned about the string not looking perfect. I think since it looks imperfect, it adds to the handmade feel of this card. And next I will use another like confetti image from the same stamp set and just stamp that all over, just to make it even more fun and more like a big party, and firecracker bits are like going everywhere and confetti's being flown about everywhere. Okay, so I'm going to attach my lantern piece to my the back of my card front, as well as my little piggy, and then I'm going to add a sentiment strip from that same golden like watercolor cardstock because, well, I'm cheap. No, I thought the gold color really matched my card perfectly, so I decided to just reuse the scraps. Let's quickly recap here. I've got a fun interactive flip slider card featuring a lion dance and dancers. Then I have this really fun hanging lanterns card with my little piggy saying Happy New Year. And I've got a blinged out, almost red envelope looking card with some heat emboss piggies as well as my smudge. And let's have a moment of silence for my paintbrush. Gone, but not forgotten. Even if you don't celebrate Lunar New Year, I want to wish you and your family a Happy New Year and Chúc mừng năm mới or Gung Hei Fat Choi.